Hey guys, just a reminder, my online course is Birth Story Academy, and you can enroll in it at birthstory.com. It's taught by me. You can be in your jammies. It's online. It's pre-recorded, and it has a ton of freebies and downloads. It's everything that you need to prepare for your hospital birth. So hope to see you in Birth Story Academy. Okay, hopefully you just listened to the replay of episode 91 with David Arrell, the author of the book Welcome to Fatherhood. Well, that interview was from 2021, and David Arrell is back with me today. We're recording this episode in 2024 because David has expanded his offerings with Welcome to Fatherhood, everything from dad coaching to amazing video courses and content. And so we're here today to talk about what's going on in our culture, what is preventing fathers from being deeply engaged in parenthood, and how can we change that narrative? So I really hope you enjoyed the previous episode and getting to know David Arrell and the story behind Welcome to Fatherhood. In today's episode, we just kind of catch up. We talk about the current landscape and environment, and he has a special code for you guys, birth story in all caps. So if you go to welcometofatherhood.com and you or your partner pick out any of the products, there is a special discount waiting for you with code birth story. So hopefully you guys will use it. I love David. I know you will too. And what you need to do right now is however you share the link to this podcast, please send it to your partner if they're male, your brother, your uncle, anybody you know who identifies as male or father and is a father or becoming a father. This episode is for the men today. Okay, let's get to it. What does a contraction feel like? How do I know if I'm in labor? And what does the day of labor look like? Wait, is this normal? Hey, I'm Heidi. My best friends call me Hides. I'm a certified birth doula, host of this podcast, and author of Birth Story, an interactive pregnancy guidebook. I have supported hundreds of women through their labor and deliveries, and I believe every one of them and you deserves a microphone and a stage. So here we are. Listen each week to get answers to these tough questions. Birth Story, where we talk about pregnancy, labor, deliveries, where we tell our stories and share our feelings. And of course, chat about our favorite baby products and motherhood. And because I'm passionate about birth outcomes, you will hear from some of the top experts in labor and delivery. Whether you are pregnant, trying desperately to get pregnant, or you just love a good birth story, I hope you will stick around and be part of this Birth Story family. Hey, David Arrell, welcome back to the Birth Story podcast.
Hi, Heidi. Great being back to see you again.
As you guys just heard in the replay, if you didn't already listen to episode 91 and meet David that way, I republished that episode so that you could get to know David Arrell a little bit more. But we are here 3 years later to catch up. It's crazy. 3 years has gone by.
I know, right? I mean, I feel like with the birth space, there's always so much newness in our lives and our experiences that sometimes it's nice to pause and look back and appreciate some of the steps we've taken along the journey so far.
And the fact that we're both here, still advocating for parents, still growing up parents, still helping, means I think our businesses are doing quite well.
Yeah, it's so great being able to connect with you and see how the businesses are progressing, and we're still speaking to all of the concerns that newly expectant and new parents are having, and being able to support them in their journeys of discovery. So it's an always fresh experience.
Yeah. So you guys, the reason I love David and following Welcome to Fatherhood and just really pushing all of my private doula clients and the podcast listeners who have a male partner who identifies as a father towards your company is because what we do is totally parallel. But admittedly, I am more focused on the mother or the person giving birth, and you have a company more focused on the male partner or the father in those figures. And so, but we both are essentially running media companies, David, right? Like,
As it turns out, there's a lot of media involved in connecting and supporting with, the birth space all across the country and frankly, all around the world. I was just connecting with the dad from Australia the other day, supporting him in his aspirations to be the best dad he can be. So it's truly a fantastic world here today, and how much outreach we can get and how much connection we can help build.
yeah. Well, let's start with my birth yesterday. Okay. Because it was such a stark contrast to the birth right before it. The birth right before it really caught me off guard. And I am going to tell a story that people are going to laugh when they hear this, okay? But it's like not funny, even though it is so funny, okay? But I go to this prenatal visit, and it's clear that the dad has done absolutely nothing to prepare.
I have seen those dads. Yes.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't know
quite
if,
familiar.
right. And it's hard because it's like, is it society? Is it culture? Is it lack of interest? Is it familial, right? Like what is it? So anyway, I'm in this prenatal, we're in a coffee shop, and he says to me, Heidi, they do the circumcision before the baby's born or like right after?
Yes. Now that's a new height or depth of unpreparedness. I haven't heard a question that's quite so unprepared as that one. That is a new one. So yes, that does set the contrast bar quite high, does it not?
Yeah, like so just in case there's anyone out here who's not clear on the answer to this, we do not perform surgery on babies' penises when they're inside the womb. Okay. There's this like thing called a cervix. It has to open. The uterus has to contract. The amniotic sac has to be broken open.
The whole baby being born part.
Yeah. And then eventually, if circumcision is something that you're choosing, that happens after the baby is born, just to be clear. Okay. So I have this story, and we had a lot of work to do to get ready for this
It sounds like
birth.
it. Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah. And the person who was giving birth, the mom, she really wanted to have an unmedicated birth, and he really didn't understand that or support it much. Like the whole labor was like, do you want an epidural? Do you want an epidural? Do you want? And she screamed at him and said, stop asking me. I'm fine, And so then fast forward to yesterday. I'm at this birth, and it's an induction of labor. The mom's water had broken on a Saturday, and all of a sudden it was a 2-day long induction. So we got to Monday, and she wasn't having any contractions 48 hours after her water broke. So I'm sitting here with the couple at the hospital and facing this induction of labor. And the dad has done everything. He's taken my course, Birth Story Academy, and he's like, Heidi, what can I do when you're gone? Because if you're not in labor, your doula is not going to be with you. Like as much as I'd love to sit with you for 4 days, I'm not going to do that. So he knew I'm the primary caretaker. And if I'm the primary caretaker until a doula arrives, what do I do? And he was so thirsty for knowledge. He was like, give me the roadmap. Show me the hip squeezes. Give me the circuits. Like, tell me exactly what to do and I will do it. And I was like, and I trust you. So he was totally prepared, knew everything, wanted to be hands-on. And he says to me, Heidi, why don't you make a class for dads? And I said, well, in the small doula world that I work in Charlotte, North Carolina, I said, it speaks a lot about you. But unless I go to the whole United States, to the whole world, coaching dads, which is what David does. That's not what I do, you guys. You know, I'm not going to find enough dads right now interested in that. And how sad is that, right? That every day, 100 clients a year I take, and a small percentage of them are like, tag me in, coach.
Right. Right.
How can I help? So tell us, David, got those two dads, right? Tell us what you're doing today. Your business has grown. So what are you doing to change that narrative of that was an extreme of the circumcision, but this narrative of dads that feel like they don't have a role to play, or they don't know what that role is or how to do it.
Right. Right. And Heidi, that is the essential question. I don't know. I don't think I have a role to play. I'm not pregnant. I'm not having a baby, and I don't know what to do. And then this is where we speak to the culture. When I kind of look around with curiosity, I'm either given some sort of like medical explanation of when the baby's growing eyelashes and burping, which is kind of cool, but doesn't, like, there's zero cash value to me as somebody who's trying to do something. Or I'm told, oh, just be helpful and supportive. And like when I was this first guy sounds like me in the beginning of our first pregnancy. I was like, well, I mean, I'm not having a baby. Why do I need to take a birth class? And neither did the 4 billion people that arrived the past, 50 years. It's like, what do we need to birth? Like, I don't see zebras taking birth classes. Like, what's going on here, right? So it wasn't communicated. I feel like my natural sort of obliviousness was commonly shared by most of the men I was speaking with. But this is where I fault the culture for not actually giving me a good answer to when I said, why do I need to take a birth class? I wasn't getting, well, David, so you can support your partner and you can be really focused on connecting with her and her journey. And yes, David, you are on different journeys. You're not pregnant. You're going to be a dad later, like all of us guys imagine. But your partner is a mom now. That positive pregnancy test means she's a mom now. So she is actively mothering your baby, and you're the dad. So you should saddle up and partner up and be right there with her and understand, appreciate her journey. And then you can also share your journey with her so she can understand and appreciate your journey and the fact that they're different. And that's what partnership is. It's a collaboration between two different people bringing their perspectives and experience and wisdom to bear to improve the collective situation for everybody. So the culture is where I want to see, that's where I see the deficit. So that's where I'm hoping to bring my work and our work here together we're doing today, sharing it far and wide to help people better appreciate what help is out there. And I'll pause here. I'll say one more thing, then I'll pause. But I like that both these guys did my strongest recommendation in my Welcome to Fatherhood work, which is dad tip number 7, dude, hire a doula. And I say that with zero, maybe think about it, possibly a 100% strong, definite recommendation, 5 stars, highly recommend. So that doula can come in and can tell the guys like me when I was in that journey, like your client, Heidi, what do I need to do? What can I do? How do I do the tips? Us guys we're action oriented. We want to do stuff, and being helpful and supportive, that just bounces off our head. There was no action there. So help us with specific things we can do. And that's where I feel our work overlaps, because my work is full of dad tips of what to do. And your very good coaching during those moments is also what to do, even if it's just chill out or go get a cheeseburger or something. Like, good, tell me what to do, and dang it, I'm going to go do it. I'm going to show up 100%. So I think that inclination to want to get clear instructions is definitely also a common denominator a lot of the guys that I work with share.
Yeah. And the communication breakdown between like men and women is also this, just like, it's a very hard thing. But when we can figure it out, relationships grow and blossom, parenthood thrives, marriages and relationships and partnerships thrive in a way it's like there's an opportunity there and we keep missing it, right? By not pulling people in. On the spectrum of, because a lot of my interactions throughout the pregnancy is typically with the mom, right? The person giving birth.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll say to me over and over again, how do I, like, I don't know what to do. She doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know what to
Exactly.
say. She doesn't know how to ask her partner for help because she doesn't even know what she needs, you know? So we
Mm-hmm.
have this problem on both sides. Some people want to help, don't know how. Some people want help, don't know how to ask for it.
Or even what to ask for, to your point, right?
Yes, exactly. So insert your company, David, and all the power and art of communication and coaching that you're putting into this world. So I wanted to talk first about, well, there's so many things. So as you guys know from our last episode, David and I met because of the book Welcome to Fatherhood, which is the website welcometofatherhood.com. Love your newsletter. Subscribe to it, you guys. There's one-on-one coaching. There's their group coaching too.
I was hosting some monthly dad meetup Zoom calls for group coaching. But the participation can be a little bit tricky there. A lot of guys are coming into this space kind of vulnerable with their uncertainty and their fears and concerns. And so I found that one-on-one is really just the best format where they can really show up. And the first thing I say is like, you're a person. It's okay to be, you're a human. It's okay to be vulnerable, messy, confused, upset, and feeling multiple different things and just being overwhelmed, and that's okay here. It's okay to let your guard down, and a lot of guys find it easier to do that one-on-one than versus a Zoom room full of strangers. It can be a little bit tricky, so the one-on-one is where my focus is.
Okay. That's a great point. I run an online Facebook group for my private doula clients only. And the engagement from the dads is like triple negative.
It
Goodbye.
is it, it
Like,
it's so like stereotypical, like all the moms to be are in there like sharing away.
mm-hmm.
And the dads are like, maybe you see one walk by in the background, but that's about it,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately.
And I'm like, none of you guys have anxiety because the data shows that a percentage of everyone in this group is going to get postpartum depression and anxiety as the male, as the father, as the person not carrying the baby.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
we're not talking about it. So you are doing one-on-one coaching, which is amazing. And then did I miss something? You have so you have the book, you have the audiobook, you have the Kindle version of the book, you have the website, you have your video courses, which are incredible, and then your coaching. So let's talk about the video courses because that's new. We didn't have that on our last conversation. So what are you doing with these video courses? Why should dads be flocking to watch them?
Yeah, the video courses have been it's almost like Jurassic Park. It felt like it was 65 million years in the making, and it was actually 2 years in the making. But I was getting a lot of comments from dads and frankly from the moms too. Like, David, I bought my partner your book. It's on his bureau with the other 6 books I bought him, and there's dust. I know he's not reading them. And so I would connect with the guys. I'm like, hey, you read a little bit, what's working for you? And he's like, David, I hear it. Like, David, I'm just not going to read. I'm not much of a reader. It's just kind of all overwhelming. And so I made the audio version to figuring I would catch them on the podcast or when they're driving or listening. But even then, it just sort of it's hard to find out where the clear breaks are. So with the video course format, I finally finished putting that together where it's all this great material. You get a chance to see me and meet me like in person rather than just reading the book and it's just words on a page, or even the audiobook. I do the audiobooks. So it's authentic, but it's hard. I mean, I'm from Philly. I'm like an animated guy and I move around a lot and I wave my hands and I have a lot of facial expressions. So I think the video course really captures the best essence of what I want to communicate. But also it's easy. It's like most of the videos are 3, 5, 7 minutes. Some are a little bit longer if there's a bigger point or I'm really setting up something. I'm really walking through one of the the things that come up during like the third trimester or heading into labor and delivery or post or the fourth trimester postpartum period. Some of the topics may stretch a little bit, but they're all bite sized. You can watch a video or two, you can click it off, you know how much time is left. You can see the little bar moving. You only have to give me a few minutes of attention at a time when you have it. And you can go back and read it. You can, watch it again. The subscription to the course, you get all the access to it. And then there's different tiers that have the coaching support built in. So it's not like, oh, I don't want to reach out. I feel, is this okay? Can I schedule an appointment with David? That seems like, do I want to bother him? It's like, no, please bother me. Like it's all like, hey, let me help you, help yourself, help your partner, help your family be the best version of you that you want to bring to the table in the first place. I'm like 100% on your side. I'm super invested in any guy that shows up and it's like, David, I want to be a better partner and more helpful and supportive and be a great dad too. So I'm in it 100%. So I make it as easy as possible for the guys to reach out and connect with me through the course and then the coaching opportunities.
Awesome. I saw this meme on Instagram the other day. Maybe it was because we're recording this right after Father's Day, actually. So this probably is why this meme showed up in my feed. But it was a dad, and he was pushing a little, I think it was a little girl actually, on the swing. And the caption said, I was talking to my dad, and I was saying, oh, I wish I was 5 years old again, being pushed on the swing. And the dad said, and I wish I was 30 years old again, pushing you on the swing.
Right.
And it like hit me so hard.
I know, like I'm tearing up just thinking about it,
I know, like it really hit me so hard. Like it goes by so fast and we don't get a second chance. And every minute of parenthood is a gift and is special. And when they're 18, that's not the time to figure out how to be a dad.
Right.
By that time, you already wildly disappointed them. You failed them. You didn't show up for them. Or you were their hero. You were their best friend. You were their coach. You showed up to all of the things. And it starts with the dang pregnancy. It starts with the delivery room or the home birth, right? So that's my TED Talk for today. I'm just
well, I want to echo your point there because it does start with the pregnancy. Like I mentioned a moment ago, when moms see that positive pregnancy test, oh, I'm a mom. I didn't even know I was a mom, but I've been a mom for a couple of weeks now, whatever that is. And a lot of guys have that mindset, as I did, that I'll be a dad. When's baby due? I'll be a dad then. And we mentioned Father's Day just has passed. And I remember my first Father's Day when my wife was still pregnant and I failed. I did not get her Mother's Day card because baby wasn't here. Like I in hindsight, obviously I say, and if your partner's pregnant, get her Mother's Day card because she's a mother. But at the time, baby wasn't here. And so somebody was giving me some grief about it. I'm like, well, I didn't get my niece a graduation card back in February. You know why? She didn't graduate yet. That's in June. That's when you get the card. Like I don't get I'm a December baby. I don't get a birthday card in September because it's not my birthday yet. So that first Father's Day, I wasn't a father yet. And so now I tell the people like, you are a dad, you're dad too, but baby's inside. They're just not outside yet. So sometimes I'll joke about being earthside or inside to help them understand that they're still a dad. The baby's still happening and their chances to connect now by speaking to baby directly through the womb. I always say like, check in with mama. Hey, how are you doing today? How are things doing? How are you feeling? And then change your intention, shift your gaze downward to her belly and be like, and how are you today, baby? Like start that connection, that relationship. And then as soon as baby is born, obviously I always say, give mama that first golden hour of skin to skin. But I tell the dads, rip your shirt off, get in there, get your own skin to skin, snuggle up, meet your baby. The more you've been investing in that relationship already, now they're like, oh yeah, it's you. And that's what they're thinking. And they're feeling your vibrations on your chest. They're getting your energetic imprint, like a little duckling. They're feeling your scruff, like they're connecting with you. And so I tell the dads, like you said, don't wait till they're 3 thinking you're going to teach them how to play softball then. Like, babies don't fish is one of my blog posts. They don't do these things that you're imagining. So get in there right away and be present fully with them as newborns, as primary caregiver also. And this is your baby. You want to get in early and often and really establish this bouncing forward relationship with your partner and create some early shared agreements on how are we going to change the diaper? How are we going to do these things? Use a lot of we language. And so I'm speaking to the dads here, not how do you want to do it, but how are we going to do it? And then follow up on that. So you're building those early bonds of connection as co-parents, where now your partner trusts you when you're holding baby rather than anxiously watching you from across the room. She'll still do that, but she'll also have trust to where
Mm-hmm.
you're establishing that new relationship as co-parents and partners, bouncing forward into your relationship with baby as a father, but also your relationship with your partner as co-parents. That is the true glue that's going to hold everything together.
It really is, because if we think about even just like the divorce rate or the separation rate, how many kids in this country are being raised in multiple homes? And if we go back, you know, sorry, David, but if you're not helping me, why do I want to have sex with you? And if I don't want to have sex with you because I resent you, then our marriage is probably not going to last very long, you
Yeah,
know?
resentment is so toxic, like acidic, corrosive. It just
Yeah.
boils it alive from the inside for sure.
Yeah. And so that is part of the engagement, right? Like the purpose of this podcast was because when David and I connected again about the next level of Welcome to Fatherhood, right? More offerings, digging in deeper, doing coaching calls, not just reading the book. But David also has an awesome podcast with an IBCLC Katie. So it's called Baby Talk with David and Katie. So it's so much more than right now in today, like today's world of David Arrell and Welcome to Fatherhood. There are so many opportunities to connect and engage. We no longer have the excuse, well, there wasn't a book for me. Well, there wasn't a podcast for me. Well, there wasn't a course for me. Well, there wasn't coaching for me. Like, yes, there is.
Yeah, I got you. I got you. I got you covered. I have
Mm-hmm.
all the formats, all the opportunities there. And opportunity is a good segue here, Heidi, because one of the things that I feel where our culture has so much room to improve is the way fatherhood is often described or communicated or even advertised. One of my least favorite words. It's kind of, you see the bumbling dad, you see all the obligations to like, the dust covered golf clubs or whatever these stereotypes are. And not that they're false, but that's so partial. And I think the bigger focal point of my work these days is to really help expectant and new dads more deeply appreciate that. Yes, there are obligations with fatherhood, but it's much bigger than that. It's opportunity. It's an invitation for you to really thrive in the dad zone, is the phrase I use in my work. And by thriving, I mean really bringing forth your deeper, your better self, your higher evolved self, this better version of you that you've been building all these years, but really bringing forth the most authentic expression of your healthy masculinity, your healthy relationship, your best version of yourself, and invest in that and bringing that forth, but then bring it into the relationship with your partner and more intentionally engage her on helping the relationship be this bouncing forward best version it can be, and help her bring forth her best self. And you guys are supporting each other here in this dialectic, this collaboration, and really view it as an opportunity to really aspire to be not just a great dad and connecting with your child, which of course is part of it, but a great partner and be a leader in the relationship, not the leader of the relationship. This isn't Father Knows Best from the 50s, but own your half of the bargain, own your role, own your opportunity to be a leader in the relationship, establish these conversations, these collaborations, authentically speak to your point of view, and then invite connection and really invest in that relationship to really make that foundation of your family. If you have additional children coming behind you or behind your firstborn, to really provide that connection and stable grounding for you and the people around you that you care about.
Yeah. So one of the things that's kind of like getting evoked for me as we're talking is like my relationship with my own dad. And my own dad was in the birth room when I gave birth. He was in the birth room when I gave birth because they didn't let him go into the birth room when his own children were being born.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was pregnant, he was masculine enough to say to me, "Hey, Heidi, I know you love birth, and I want to know more about what it is that you do and that you love. And I would love to see my grandchild be born. And could I come to the birth and see my grandchild be born? Because that's something I've never been part of. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
really want to die without having had that experience if I didn't have it as a parent, as a grandparent." And I'm telling that story because, you know, I'm so grateful that my dad is still seeking opportunities to grow his emotional masculinity, even
Yeah,
in
that's
his
awesome.
70s, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying everybody has to like let their dad in the birth room. That's not what I'm saying. For me, that's what worked out. But if hopefully I have many more years with my dad. But I'm in my late 40s now. A lot of my friends' parents are passing on, and I think if someone were to ask me to talk about my dad and our relationship, a father-daughter relationship, I'm not going to talk about how much money he made or how hard he worked. Like, those aren't the things that children remember, right? I'm going to talk about when I looked over at a soccer game and I saw him cheering. I'm going to talk about what his hand felt like as a child who was holding mine. My body remembers the hugs and the kisses and the support and the meals. Oh my gosh, if you can tap into those five senses for parenting.
Mm-hmm.
But like
Mm-hmm.
the smells and the scents and all the things. And so, I don't even really know what I'm saying here, David, other than I think that there's an opportunity for everyone going into parenthood to think about their own relationship. What was good about it? What needs to change in the next generation? What could you do
Mm-hmm.
better? You know? But, how is your relationship with your dad, David?
But that's such a good point there, Heidi. I'm glad you mentioned that. My relationship with my dad is very good now. He's older. His years are numbered. Um, but I'll start with when my birth story. When I was born, my parents were in Chicago at the time. They had just moved there, and they had been going to be seen at the hospital. I'll say 3 miles west. But my dad came in. My mom wasn't feeling well one morning, and my dad was going to stay home from work, and he was getting some things done. Took a shower and came out, and my mom was on the couch, bleeding pretty severely. And so they called an ambulance, and she was having preeclampsia. And the ambulance showed up, and they told my dad to follow him to the hospital. And the ambulance turned left out of the driveway rather than right. And my dad's like, where are we going? So they went to a different hospital. So everything was sort of like emergent in the sense of what this is happening now. So they got me out C-section kind of as an emergency birth, but my mom was needed some additional care. So she was in her own care for a couple of days, and I was in like an incubator or whatever. And so they would wheel me in so my mom could breastfeed me, but they would only let my dad hold me for a half hour a day under strict nurse supervision. And so he would tell these stories of like coming in there and like seeing which nurse was working. And one of them in particular was like really like Nurse Ratchet, like really very much focused on time and propriety. And she would literally sit there and stare at him for a half hour and then look at her watch and be like, okay, time's up. Where some of the other nurses were like, they weren't so concerned if he had been in the earlier in the morning or not. And hearing that story makes me so sad because like I was like, that sucks for me as the brand new baby stuck in a freaking incubator, and I can't see I'm not getting a lot of time with either one of my parents. But for me, I really wanted to be there with the birth of my children. We have two children now, and I was that present, and I couldn't imagine being told I had to stay behind some door and I can't see my partner and I can't see my baby. Like, how much does that suck? And so Um, I'm happy that it's changing even more now, where there's a lot more ability for dads to be a lot more engaged. I was able to be as involved as I wanted to be, catching the baby, cutting the cord, doing all the things. And even more so, dads are like in the water for the home birth in the tub, and the dad's in the water naked, the mom's naked, the doula's naked, everybody's naked, the baby's coming out naked. It's like this is cool. It's like super like retro modern combo.
Just
Um,
for the record, David, I've never gotten naked at a birth as a doula.
well, Heidi, tomorrow's a new day. You can put that on your bucket list. But just to
TheNakedDoula.com.
I don't know where that website goes, so I am not I am not going to Google that one. But just to speak to the what you're saying about your relationship with your father, mine is very similar in that I remember being young and looking at his hands and holding his hands or wearing his shoes, and I remember his warm presence and always being there for my little league practices and like the school play. And I had a younger sister and a younger brother, and my parents will tell stories where we're all kind of at the little league field, and we're all, my sister's in softball, my brother's in t-ball and baseball, and they're running around tag teaming like who's watching which kid with two parents and three kids. And I remember being bummed when I would look over and see neither one of my parents, but then I'd be excited when I look over and see my dad, even if I'm sitting on the bench, not even playing at that time, but just knowing he was there. That's what I remember. I don't remember. I know we went to Disney World because there's pictures, but I don't remember that. I remember those small moments, those small details of like cutting the grass or, out in the garden looking for caterpillars, and just that. So that warm presence, that's what I'm advocating so strongly for from day one for the expectant dads, to be that warm presence with your partner on her journey, your warm presence with baby as they're growing. And then when they're born, that warm presence, starting with the warmth, literal warmth of your skin to skin, but all that early care. And last point here, when my son I would always sing him to sleep. And I would make up these songs about squirrels, because we lived in Omaha and we had squirrels all over our house. And I'm like, I don't know what to sing about. So I'd make up these little nursery rhymes about squirrels. And to this day, if he's sitting in my lap and I start humming the bars of my made up song, you see him smile. Like he remembers the feeling from being a baby and having me sing these songs every night to like rock him to sleep. And even now, if he's upset and I start to sing it, he'll be like, Dad, don't sing that song. But he's like smiling because it feels good. It's that felt connection that I want to continue to invest in as like the warm presence, not so much, the shiny Hot Wheels or whatever.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's an accident that both of us are running companies where we nurture parents, because honestly, it sounds like I asked you that question because we were both nurtured very well. And it's that gift that we were given that helps us to be able to nurture and grow up and teach and coach other parents as well. So I'm very grateful for your work, David, and I'm super happy that you came back on Birth Story Podcast. Just a little motivator to kind of like push some of these dads along. So I mentioned welcome to fatherhood.com. We would love to hear from you, you guys. Like, please reach out to David on the website and share, like, what's holding you back. If you're a partner, if you're the person giving birth, if you're the mom, like, what do you need to learn? What do you need to help from David to be able to share with your partner what your needs are? David's company grows and thrives, as you heard, from feedback. So all these amazing video courses are because you guys took the time to like connect with David. So keep doing that, please, on the podcast. What parting words do you have for my audience, David, about how to get a hold of you or the best way to sign up for coaching or to watch your courses? Is all that on your website?
Heidi, everything can be found right over there at www.welcometofatherhood.com. I just got the website redesigned, so it's super easy. The course is what's right there on the homepage. You can see some practice. You can see some of the videos for like a sneak peek and a preview for free on the website. But everything's there. You can email me, David at Welcome to Fatherhood, with any specific questions. I take pride and I personally respond to all these emails. You're not getting some David bot, spam chat GPT answer. It's me. It's authentically me. But Heidi, I do want to speak briefly to what you said, nurturing, because I feel that that's the missing piece for so many dads out there. They're not finding a place where they can be vulnerable and they can be nurtured and like really, I don't say let their guard down, but just really lean into a learning open mindset. And same with new parents. Like when their journey for women is from maidenhood to motherhood. And when you become a mother, that's a beginning of a new phase of your life. And nurturing is what we really focus on in that fourth trimester for new mothers. And new fathers, I don't feel are given the same space and grace to emerge into a new phase of their life, to be equally uncertain, confused, a little bit messy, and kind of like grasping and groping their way forward. And what does it mean to be in fatherhood? What does it mean to be a parent? What does it mean to be a partner to a new mother? And this space, I feel, can benefit from nurturing no matter how and where you get it. And I'm very happy to be able to contribute, my 2 cents, my efforts into that space. And I would love to connect with any of your listeners in any way that works for them.
Yeah. And I'm going to say something here that's like so controversial and y'all can disagree with me. I mean, and everybody knows like I'm like a pretty liberal person. But what I'm going to say is as a doula for 21 years, I have tried that as a woman and a female and their doula to follow up with these dads in the postpartum period and to connect with them and to get them to open up. It's really hard. And so the fact that David is a man reaching out to other men, it's, I think, a more winning combination than me, the doula, trying to have these difficult, steering the ship conversations about fatherhood when like I'm your doula and I'm not a father, but I'm like trying, like I'm putting this olive branch out. Like I want to nurture you and help you. And I'll just say after 21 years, it's not always received that well. So I really do appreciate that a man is running a company targeted to men. And I know that's controversial as fuck, but
well, I mean, I don't really think, Heidi, I think there's a lot of validity there. When I was first starting Welcome to Fatherhood, I had an older experienced doula. It was a like third career for her. And she was saying, and again, I'm not going to name any names, that she was saying, David, look, you're in for an uphill battle and she's referring to herself. When I was growing up the corporate ladder back in the early 80s, all the lessons I was being given by all the men around me all said, be more like a man. If you want to be successful, be like a man, hide your emotions, be stern, speak up. And I wasn't trying to be a man. I was trying to be a successful woman CEO as I was growing into the business world. And I frankly didn't get a lot of support that landed for me. And she was telling me like, you're going to hear the same thing. You're going to try to be coaching these dads and you're going to be experiencing yourself as a man in the birth space, that all the advice you're going to be hearing could sound similar to be more like a woman if you want to be successful as a parent or as a birth space, sacred birth holder. And you're going to have to figure out how to stay true to your authentic individual masculinity and show up through that modality and in your own voice and in your own style, and encourage the men around you to honor their masculinity and appreciate that, fathers don't mother. That's dad tip number 27, and how to find your authentic voice that is caring and nurturing, concerning, but also is still true to yourself and true to your masculine energy. So again, some people kind of are going to be a little bit sensitive to this, but the fact remains that this is the experience that we've had here in our years. And we are seeing some changes in the culture. I think that's creating more space and grace to allow us all to shine forth in our authentic voice, bringing our best gifts, our best self forward, and helping each other together, grow into that space of parenthood and partnership.
Yeah, very well said. Thank you for being here. And thank you for coming to speak to my private doula clients. You guys be jealous. David is going to come do a Zoom with me for my private doula clients. And what I have to say about this episode is what I said at the beginning of the episode in the intro. Please forward it to your partner. Please forward it to your brother. Please forward it to any male figure in your life who is a father or becoming a father, and share the resources that are available at welcometofatherhood.com. Thanks for being here. Thank you for listening to Birth Story. My goal is you will walk away from each episode with a clear picture of how labor and delivery might go, and that you will feel empowered by the end of your pregnancy to speak up, plan and prepare for the birth you want, no matter what that looks like.